Hello, and welcome to another episode of Undiscovered Beasts and Strange Phenomena. Please join our experienced and knowledgeable panel of hosts as we explore the great mysteries of our time: Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and unexplained phenomena.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our show. Tonight we're going to do something different. We've got a very experienced researcher, Julie Rench, on the show, who's going to talk to us about her experiences in her area, and we're also going to play some audio and listen to those. But first of all, welcome, Julie, and thank you for joining us on our show.
Well, hey, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to doing this show with you guys.
Well, we're very happy to have you here. And Mike, you had a couple of questions for Julie to start us off.
Well, yes. Hey, Julie, first, welcome aboard. And we're very excited about this evening's show. And to get right into it, could you tell the audience, and I know because I've been there a couple of times, a few times actually now, but could you tell us about where the Uwharrie is located?
Yeah, actually, the Uwharrie National Forest here in North Carolina is just about in the geographical center of the state. It's in central North Carolina. And I live just right outside of the Uwharrie Forest.
Yes, that's correct. You have some property that is not on the National Forest, but in that same general vicinity. Yeah,
just a couple miles outside of the Uwharrie Forest. It's a farmhouse. We got about 10 acres. It's very much forested area, very rural area. Not a lot of folks. I think my town has. We live out in the country, of course, but the little town that I live in has like 841 people. I think there's like one stoplight.
Well, that's not a very big town. Yes, that's fairly rural.
That sounds perfect, actually. The way you're describing it. I've like got this mental image of this idyllic little farmhouse area. Awesome.
Yes.
So how long have you lived there, Julie, roughly?
Well, I was born here in North Carolina, and then we moved to Ohio for many years, and Jeff and I decided that we would eventually move back down here because, it's where my family is, it's where I'm from. Our ancestors moved to this area in 1765 and founded a lot of the area that I'm in right now. So we've been here ever since 1765. But Jeff and I moved in here 3 years ago. And yeah, and it was I didn't know what I was getting into at the time. I figured, living by the Uwharrie would be pretty cool because of the history of the Sasquatch sightings there. And I thought it'd be pretty cool living pretty close to there, and I can just hop over to the Uwharrie in 10 minutes and be hitting the trail. So, but I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
So that's interesting. So you say that there's been talk of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, in your area for a while, yeah?
Yes, it goes back a long ways. And the show Finding Bigfoot, the crew was actually here in the Uwharrie and did a show on the Uwharrie. It was, I think, their first season, episode 3, and they interviewed a lot of people, and some of it it's very it's kind of frightening here because these creatures have a history of preferring to mobilize themselves on all fours, and belly crawling and things like that.
That's very, very interesting. So I've heard accounts of all fours, and obviously that's gorilla-like behavior. And Mike talked about some of the his own eyewitness account. I think he was talking about something running along on all fours. I interviewed a witness out here out here in the forests around San Diego who talked about a creature running on all fours, and that's consistent with a lot of obviously great ape behaviour. So tell us a little bit about the research that you've got into, because I mentioned that you've got some audio, and tell us about what you've been up to in those 3 years since you got to your new property.
Okay. Well, when we got here, the place had been vacant for a year, at least a year. So, when we first moved in, we were very busy with repairing fence lines and taking care of the house. And so it had been a few months after I'd been here where I actually had time to get outside, sit by the fire pit and enjoy, a night out the fire pit instead of working in the house or out on the property. So at that time, I had been investigating, Sasquatch research even when I was in Ohio. So when I came here, I thought, well, that'd be really cool to, be able to just hop over to the Uwharrie anytime you wanted to and check things out. So I was sitting here and I was, I had been doing some forwarding audio from people that sent me audio to David Ellis from the Olympic Project over the course of a couple of years. And so I had actually established a rapport with David Ellis, and he had, analyzed a lot of people's audio, and I'd send it back to him, and, maybe some of it was pretty interesting. I'll tell you, we found some really interesting things. But anyway, to make a long story short, one night I was sitting out the fire pit, and I was listening to the coyotes going off, and then I heard something kind of odd in the mixture, and I had actually recorded it, and I thought, I'm going to just send this to David so he can send it back to me and say, yeah, that's all just coyotes, you got nothing to worry about. Well, that's not what happened. He sent back the audio clip where he had found certain things, and after he analyzed them on a spectrograph, looked at them, and he said, I think you might have company out there. So that's how it all started. And then he asked me.
Julie, let's pause it 1 second so everybody can understand. So David Ellis is obviously somebody who is not a scientist, but he obviously works for the Olympic Project. And one of the things he does is analyze sound recordings. I know David is a terribly nice man, very honest. And he's giving you your opinion that there's something interesting in it. Now, he uses a spectrograph, as you said. Could you explain how that works, and to the best of your knowledge, and how it might be used to interpret your data?
Sure. Like you said, David's been doing this for over 10 years now, and what he does is he uploads the audio into some software that you can visually look at in a spectrograph setting. And over time, he has been able to determine, what a dog bark looks like, what a coyote howl looks like, deer sound, different birds. Everything that you hear has a certain pattern to the sound, and that's what they call the spectrograph. Well, he, he's been doing it for so long that he can actually, he bases a lot of what he finds on how it looks, versus exactly how it sounds, because, you could have something that sounds like a dog, but then you look at the signature and it does not match what a dog signature looks like. So that's how, he actually does it, as he does it visually as well, not just by what it sounds like. And actually, I have some software myself, and I've been analyzing some of my own stuff here in the last few months. So I've really gotten a great appreciation for what he does, because it is very time-consuming, and you have to be pay very close attention to what you're doing. So that's kind of how it works. It's more of a visual along with what it sounds like, but you're not basing it exactly on just what you hear.
Okay, good stuff. So this first, tell us a little bit. So you set the scene for us, if you will. I like to understand the context of these things. So you said you were sat around the campfire. What time of year was it, and why did you feel it was necessary to record these distinctive sounds?
Well, actually, I was recording with my phone at the fire pit. I was recording the coyotes going off, and that's why I was actually recording, because they were pretty close and they were really cutting up. And that's when I heard that particular sound, and I was like, well, that sounds different than the usual coyote sound. And that's when I sent it to David, and he sent the parts back that was of interest. And then he says, since you're right there at the Uwharrie, what do you feel like about helping me with an audio project? And he explained to me, how to do it, what to do. I take my recorder. I have just like a regular digital recorder, and I leave it outside all night long, when it's not raining and that sort of thing. And then I upload the audio and send it off to him. And then he analyzes it, the whole 8 hours of audio. So that's kind of what we've been doing for almost 3 years now. And he has on file over 500 clips of interest from this house.
That's a huge amount. Now, yeah. I understand. No, thank you for that. I understand a little bit. Now, you've got some clips that you want to play to us. So let's start in sequence. What's the first clip you want to play to us, and where's it from? And if you could tell us the context, that would be useful before we played it.
Okay. Now, I have 4 that I brought to the studio as a combination of different sounds back to back. So, and they're looped 3 times. Each particular sound is looped 3 times, and then it goes to another sound. But the first one, and David is the one who created these categories, if you will. He called this one barks, grunts, huffs, voices, and it's just a combination of different sounds that, was on my audio that I had recorded here, and it's over a period of time. So they're not all from the same night, and maybe not even from the same month. These are just some of the best ones that he really found most interesting over the course of time, and that's what these are.
Okay.
So the first clip is barks, grunts, huffs, and voices. Mike, if you want to go ahead and play that one.
Yes. Which clip is that? Clip 1?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
So, is this...
did that go all the way?
I think so. Did it go all the way? Mike, did it go all the way? You know? Is that the end of it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's it. Julie? That's it. There's all sorts going on there. I mean, what can you tell us that you can decipher and understand about that, Julie? What's your interpretation? There's so much there. I've got many questions I could ask, but I'd like you to talk first, if you will.
Okay. Well, obviously I did not see what was making these sounds. Most of it's recorded between 12 and 3 or 4 a.m. So I'm already in bed by that time, normally speaking. Now, I don't know what made the sounds, but they're definitely not normal sounds, and they don't have normal signatures, if you will, on the spectrograph. So there's definitely something out there making these very loud sounds. I have percussive sounds. I have banging. I have things. I have a couple times I've had something beat the crap out of the side of the shed when I was out there sitting at the fire pit. Different things like that. So I can't say for sure that, hey, that's a Bigfoot, but I can say it's very suspicious, as David would say. It's very suspicious audio captures and suspicious presentation on the spectrograph.
Okay, so there are a couple of things that you can hear which are quite distinctive. Some that you can hear, you can clearly make out, and other things I'm kind of intrigued by, so I wanted your take on it. And one of the things you can clearly hear, which is pretty obvious, is you can hear it, to me. I mean, I might be wrong. I've not got the best hearing ever in the world, but I can clearly hear a dog barking at some point, and you must be able to hear that, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can definitely hear dogs barking.
You can definitely hear them barking. So we can say that in case anybody says, I can just hear dogs barking. Now, one of the most obvious things that people will say if they were going to challenge the data, and nobody's saying it's Bigfoot, and you've been quite clear about that, will say, well, these are just anomalous dogs or coyote recordings. What would you say to that, Julie?
Well, I can say that unless you load up some known coyote sounds and look at those through a spectrograph, and then load up this stuff and look at it through a spectrograph and compare them, it's easy to say, yeah, that's probably just coyote, or yeah, that's probably just a whatever, But once you've actually put a little bit of science into it, it starts to make sense as to why, some of these noises make no sense that a dog would be doing them, because they don't match any dog signatures that I'm aware of from my property. Because, I've looked at the dog signatures myself and compared them to some of those other grunts and things that I just played, and there's not even a close resemblance.
Okay. Interesting. Now, one of the things that I thought I heard, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I've only listened to it once, and I'm sure you've listened to it many times. And this is, just before I ask this question, this is an amalgamated tape of different sounds that David has put together that he has grouped over a period of time. Is that correct? This is an amalgam. Okay. So what I could hear, or what it seems I could hear, was like a voice talking or something. Could you hear that, or is that my interpretation? And I don't mind if I'm wrong. It's just
no, that was. I have some voice captures as well, and that's something we'll talk about at the end of towards the end of the show. But yeah, I get some of that sometimes. You can't make out what's being said, but there's a clear voice, and the voices that I capture out here are different voices. I have some that sound like a child. I have some that sound very much like female, and I have some that sound very much like male speaking. And it's one of those unsolved mysteries. I get that mixed in with some of this other stuff.
So that sounded to me, I mean, again, this is just my own view, that sounded to me like a woman whispering. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that one is, actually, that is one that I loaded up separately to the studio that we'll go over. I forgot that was even in that one, but yeah, that's an example of some of the voices that we get. So yeah, you're right. You heard what you heard.
Okay,
you're not losing it.
No, is there any other? I mean, I want now we've discussed it. I'm going to get Mike if he doesn't mind. I'm making him work for his no money tonight. If it's all right by you, I want to play it again now we've kind of discussed it so people can understand the context of what we're discussing. I think it helps. So we're going to play it again in a second if Mike's all right. I'll tell you when, Mike, if you're okay with that. Is there anything else you feel like you want to tell us about that clip now we've had a listen and discussed it?
Just know that each particular sound is looped 3 times. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same source doing it 3 times. It's each sound is looped 3 times. So keep that in mind when folks are listening to it.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you. So I'm going to try and listen again now. I'm going to try and listen to that female voice thing in particular. I seem to have switched onto that in my brain. But anybody who's listening, listen to whatever you want in it. I just wanted to dismiss the dog and a couple of the other things. I'm just going to focus on, obviously, some of the louder grunt noises, which are more interesting to me, and that female voice. Mike, could you play it again, please?
Yes, here we go again from the top.
That's fascinating. Thank you very much for that, Julie. That woman is some reason I'm focusing in, and I'm going to think about that. So you have some other clips that you wanted to share with us. I want to make sure we try and get as many clips as possible.
Okay.
What's the second clip? Tell us.
Okay, clip 2 is called Short Vocals, and it's a combination of, just some different sounding things. I mean, I can't. It still blows my mind when I'm hearing this for myself because it's unbelievable. Some of the stuff's very unbelievable. But it's called short vocals, and it's just an example of what I've caught over the last 3 years here. And that's clip 2.
So are you in bed when all of this is going on, Julie, or are you actually by the campfire that you have in your property when this happens?
Well, some of it, I've been outside and heard some of this sitting out there alone in the dark by myself and hearing the stuff going off in the woods back there. It can get a little unnerving, you know.
So
but,
how far is the campfire where you sit back? Because I know I've seen on your Facebook post you have quite a few little posts by your campfire, which I quite like looking at because I love sitting by the campfire. It's my favourite thing. How far is it from the main house?
Oh, probably. Oh my, Mike, what do you think? About 40 feet?
Yeah, it's about 50 feet off the corner of the house there. It's just right there in the yard.
Okay. And when you put the digital recorder out, I just had a question as the clip was playing. Do you put it in different places, or do you have a little spot where you put it?
I normally put it on the deck, the outside deck on the west-south side of my house. That's kind of like a general location of the perimeter back there. So, yeah, I try to keep it in that particular area.
Okay. So, again, when we listen to these clips, do you have any view as to what this might be, and do you think they're linked to the first clips that we have, or are they separate entities, or do you just not know? What's your view on this?
Well, I think there's definitely more than one source making these particular sounds, and there's a couple on here where you can actually hear two different subjects going back and forth.
Yeah.
Responding back and forth to each other.
That's why I asked you, because it sounded to me you're exactly in agreement with my own initial view, and obviously I just listened to it once, but it sounded to me, if I was speculating, and I'm conscious I'm speculating to a large degree here, I'm not analysed these things, but it sounded to me like there were two subjects on some of it interacting with one another. Is that your view? If you have a different view and you think I'm wrong, please say so. I don't know.
That's exactly what's going on out there. Whatever these sources are of these sounds, myself and David both believe that there's definitely at least two or more out there, and a lot of times you'll hear one going off over here, and then one's going off over there, and then it starts going back and forth. Like when I'm sitting out at the fire pit, I've literally heard some noise from this side over here, and then over on the other direction, there's a response. So yeah, there's definitely more than one source.
And do you hear these noises, these anomalous recordings, whatever you want to say, all year round, or is there a distinctive time when there's more concentrated activity?
Yeah, it seems like March and April so far have been the most active. March and April in the spring, and then September and October in the fall.
So spring and fall. Do you hear them all year round, or is there any months where you think, well, actually nothing much is happening?
Well, there is recordings just about every month, but I know like last summer in August, it was like the temperature of the sun here, okay? And there was nothing moving out there. I mean, there was probably 2 weeks solid where I didn't even get a peep of anything, and that was when it was 90 degrees at night. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So when it's very, very hot out there, then there's less activity.
Yeah.
Okay. Mike, is there anything else you want to add before I get Mike to play it again? That second track, because I like people to hear it twice if possible.
Nope.
Okay, Mike, if you could roll it a second time, I'd be grateful. Fascinating stuff. Okay, I mean, my initial view on listening to it twice hasn't changed. That part of it seems to be a communication. Now, I understand that you've got you've got two more clips. Let's talk about the third one then, and if you could set the context for us with that one, please, Julie.
Okay. Clip number 3 is called Long Vocals, and that's exactly what they are. They're extended vocals, and there's a couple in there, Mike, that you might recognize because you were actually sitting here when they happened.
Oh, that's excellent. You ready? Okay, here goes number 3.
Long vocals.
Now, Mike, you were there at the time with Julie, and we've heard from Julie and her experiences. How did you feel when you heard that?
Yeah, I was present for a few of those. Now, I just to clarify, I've been at to Julie's place a few times now, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. You know, sometimes you can hear something, you might just say, well, that's within the possible range of the human voice, or whatever. Then sometimes you hear something, you can say, well, yeah, that's it's possible that could be a coyote that just making a sound I never heard before. But there's some stuff that the hair just stands up on the back of your neck, and you know it's not a coyote or a human. I just don't know what to tell you what it is other than a big.
Is it at this point, Julie, that you pour yourself another big drink, or do you just...
Yeah, there's been a few times. One of those in there was probably within 100 feet of where I was sitting, and it was completely pitch black in the area that it was. And that's when I got up and brought my happy ass back into the house, shut the door and locked it. Nope.
Indeed.
I was like, nope, I don't care what that thing is. I am not walking over there to find out because I could actually feel it go through me. That's how close it was. It was vibrating my chest. It was really unnerving, really scary.
Do you ever do trail cameras, or is audio your thing? Is that what you like to focus on?
Yeah, I have game cams up around my property, but I haven't caught anything that you would say, oh, that could be Bigfoot. You know, I've caught some weird stuff happening, but you can't really make out totally what it is because whatever is moving so fast that you can't make out what it is. So,
what sort of animals have you captured on the trail camera? Just out of interest.
Let's see, deer, gray foxes, raccoons, possums, the neighbor's cow happened to wander over in the yard. A lot of deer. I mean, we have so much deer. We have a game trail that goes east to west on the property out there. So we, a lot of different wild turkey.
A lot of coyotes too.
Yeah, coyotes. We got the coyotes.
Okay, cool. All right, let's listen to it one last time, and then we'll talk about the fourth track, which you said was a little bit more unusual, and I'll explain the context of that. So, Mike, if you could play track 3 again, please, if you don't mind. Yeah, there you go. What a show. So we've got, you said track 4, I mean, at the beginning of the show, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said track 4 was slightly different in some way. Do you want to explain what you mean by that? If I'm wrong, again, tell me.
If what? Say that again.
That track 4 was different in some way, or a different sort of capture? Am I right? Or
oh,
not?
yeah. Yeah, let me say this though before we get into this other weird stuff that I have. Mike, if you will play the one called Percussive Voice Weird Vocal, that one is my favorite clip of all times, and it sounds like there are two subjects in this clip. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, wow.
That's very intense. Yeah, I definitely seem to hear what often looks like communication, which is interesting. So you do hear communicative, or it appears to me, just from an initial impression, that you hear communicative wails, and people think, oh well, often things like that might not happen with grey apes, and that's not the case. I can tell you, for example, that orangs are solitary, and they'll often call to potential mates or other orangs in the wild. I've heard them do it. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, is there anything you wanted to add about any of those clips before we listen to number 4?
Just, like I said, I didn't see what was making the source of those sounds, but I can tell you that I've never heard these type of sounds this much, this often, anywhere else that I've been. That's all I can say about it. And if somebody would like to, if they are hearing these sounds similar and research sites or on their own property, if they want to contact me and send me their audio or talk about it, they can send me an email to julie.rench, that's RENCH, @yahoo.com, and I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, and that would actually be good comparative research, because it would help you to understand, because you need to, any evidence that you have, as I'm sure you know, you need to have corroborated and independently analysed, and that's a good methodology that you're suggesting. So yes, so ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to, if you have any similar experiences as Julie, and you'd like to send her audio, could you just repeat that email address again?
It's julie.rench@yahoo.com, and Rench is RENCH. Would love to hear from you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's listen to track 4 then. Tell us all about this then.
Well, if you want to have time to get to the other side of things, we might want to go on to that. I can come back another time and bring some more audio on, but if I have the ones here that sound more like people's voices talking.
Oh yeah, I'd like to listen to that. So we've only got 10 minutes or so, because we'd love to have you back, because there's so much we could cram in, and this is good. So tell us that this is a completely separate subject, I understand.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
again,
some of the stuff I've recorded just with my usual, set the recorder out, and as I'm analyzing stuff and going through it to send to David, I've found captures. He's found captures. The first one I'd like to play is called Childlike Voice, and it sounds like a child saying hello with a name or something, Kobe or Cody, and then another voice says hi back. So Childlike Voice is what that one's called.
Okay, Mike, if you could find Childlike Voice. So when's that from?
That one's probably, I'd say, about 6 months ago.
And what time of night is that recorded? Because people might.
That was probably about 2:15 a.m.
So there's no children at 2:15 a.m. wandering around on your property.
Not on my property, but no. It sounds like it's very close to the recorder as well. I mean, very clear, very close.
And I'd like to add, there are a number of...
Just give me 1 second, Mike. Just let me ask this question. And then you come in. Do you know where the nearest children might be?
The children that might be here close by would probably be on the south side of my property, across the road and down. I mean, I've never had any childlike voices recorded like that since or after in that degree.
Mike, you had a question, did you?
I was just going to add to that, and it's talking about the same place you're going, actually. Even if there was children running around, there are a number of cameras on the property. Chances are, Julie would know about it if there was kids on the property at 2 in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, and it would be odd for them to be running around out here because it's so pitch black back there, and every bit of my property is fenced in, and there's iron gates in the front that are shut and locked at night, so they would be taking a big risk coming up on this property at night. Just saying, a lot of no trespassing signs out there.
Okay, good stuff. So how many more of these audio recordings have you got?
All right, so then here's one, and I'm not sure exactly what is being said, but I'll have Mike play it first, and then I'll let you know what I think it says. And this one is...
Yeah, that's cool, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, titled, Julie, Please. Mike, if you would.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I wish you could see my face right now.
Yeah, you wish you could have seen my face when I first played that. All right, so here's what I think it says, and this is open to interpretation, but I'm telling you, and what happened was I was out the fire pit for a couple hours. I came in, and with the timing of this thing was about 20 minutes after I came into the house and shut the door and locked it and, went on to bed. That sounds to me like someone's out there saying, Julie, please come out. And then you hear a second voice whisper, come out. And then the other voice again says, come out of the house.
Yeah, it's not particularly inviting. If it had been Adam, please, with that voice, I wouldn't be jumping out to join them to make that particular reason.
No.
Okay.
So yeah, Mike, if you play it again, and again, I could be wrong, but to me, I can hear my name being called.
Well, I definitely, you've got to be careful of cognitive priming. That's why I like it. I like to play these things first, and then cognitive priming, just so everyone understands it. If I tell you what it is before I play it, you're more likely to go with my own opinion. Right. That's why I've tried not to just understand the context for all of these things before and then play it again, so that we don't try and put our own views on it to everybody else who's listening. But now, I can very clearly see that. Please play it again, Mike. That was creepy-ass stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Lovely.
Oh, yeah, it's great fun. I know we're getting kind of short on time here, so let's do, the next one is called Who is Talking, if you would, Mike.
Yeah, let's listen to Who is Talking. So what do you think is happening there yourself? I'm interested in your interpretation.
Yeah, see, I can't really make out anything on that, but to me the very end sounds like somebody's saying something about losing their mind.
Well, I'll give you my own interpretation. For me, it sounded like there were two different voices that I could make out. And one, the vibe I picked up, and this is just my supposition, that one sounded almost pleading and quite tortured. But that's just my view. I mean, I've never been to your property, so obviously,
right.
That's it. We're almost out of time. Is there anything else you want to play for us real quick, or do you feel satisfied that you've shown us what you need to show?
Well, I can play one more, and this is something I caught out at the back of my property when my mom and I were out there, and I had the recorder with me, and I was talking, so you can hear me talking, and in between my words, you'll hear a childlike or a woman's voice in the mix. So
okay.
I won't tell you what I think it says until after.
Yeah, please.
And it's called Burning Me EVP. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice.
Tell us your interpretation then, Julie. All
right. It sounds to me, you can hear me say something, and then the whispering voice almost sounds like it says, you there, or are you there? And then it sounds like they're saying, they're burning me.
Let's listen to it one more time, because we're almost out of time. I think we've just got enough time to squeeze it in. Play it for us one more time, please, Mike.
Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice.
Have you ever researched the property, Julie? Do you know the background of it at all?
Well, I know that this particular area used to be native ground. The actual property has been a wooded area up until 2004 when the person that owned this property put a house here. And anything about, as far as like long ago history, the courthouse from this county over in Troy actually burned down 3 times in the 1800s. So a lot of things are missing about some of the areas around here as far as who owned them or who didn't. That's the best I can know so far, is that it was definitely, because they found native artifacts about a mile from my house. And then there's a burial ground about 20 minutes from here, the Town Creek Indian Mound.
Well, it's fascinating stuff, and I could talk to you for a lot longer, but we're out of time. I want to thank you, and I want to thank Mike for obviously all the work that you did in the studio before doing this, and I want to thank you, Julie, for bringing in all those audio clippings. It's been really fascinating. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you ever so much, Julie, for being on our show.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Julie Rench. Fascinating stuff, completely different audios. I've had a great time. Sat back listening to those. Some of them were really strange, is all I'll say. And I really enjoyed it. So thanks to Julie, and thanks to Mike. And Mike and I will be back very soon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and good night.
Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah. She told me. And I've only met him twice. Yeah.